Tryna hide from the camera. I ain't going outside today. Couldn't find our tech. So I'm drinking on egg today. I'ma put up my style. We gon' do a drive-by in the rain. I'ma take it to trial. Pray the Lord I beat the case. That man be calling, I don't do no talk. So get the fuck out of my face. Gotta take in a chopper with $100,000 up in the race. You know I ain't sleeping, you know that I'm with it. I shoot him right up in his face. 3 say that I'm tripping, you know that I'm dripping. I'm wrapped in saran today. I just bought a brand new watch from God, I ain't put it on yet. I own it all on my homies. I could put on my son from my car to my house, everything I own it. When they come to that money, you know I ain't stunting, I be on it. I just got a pet monkey, cast out on a tiger, but really don't want it. My son don't like it. He say that we beefing, you know I won't fight him. My clip full of thunder, you know that I strike. Wanna join the NBA?
What is up, everybody? It's Cam Hand, the Fantasy Man, coming at you week 10. Trying to crank this out before whatever Wednesday. I got Dancing with the Stars in about 20 minutes, so hopefully this, or not 20, 40 minutes. So I really need to crank this out. Caitlin's in the shower right now. She's going to come out and probably be upset that I'm filming before Dance with the Stars. But, this is what I do for you guys. This, fantasy football, these videos, they come first before relationships, before work, before everything. So let's get into it. Quick Thanksgiving weekend itinerary. This actually was requested by some. You don't have to follow this. This is just what I'm doing. These are the events that some people could go to. So Wednesday, 8 p.m.-ish, at least me, Dylan Riley, Andrew, and a bunch of Caitlin's friends and family and stuff. We're gonna go out on the town in downtown Alpharetta. So anyone's welcome. That's you, Hunter. I know maybe you would go. Dylan obviously is going. Bunch of people. If Doug wanted to step out of step out and come out to downtown Alpharetta with us, that would be cool. So that is an open invitation. Thursday is Thanksgiving. Normally after Thanksgiving, I do it at Caitlin's house. We normally play some games at Caitlin's house, which again, Dylan often comes to. So we might play some games over there. So if anyone wants to come over, we could even play Secret Hitler. I don't expect you to, but it's just an option. Friday, I don't think we can play football on Friday because of people's plans. Some people have work, but it's possible. Let me know if you can't play on Sunday. But we could play football then if people want to play there. I'm also going to a Hawks game. So I can't really do anything Friday night. I put Saturday night, 7:30, Los Rios. So maybe we'll do Los Rios. Let me know if you can't do that. Maybe we could change that night. And afterwards, we could play Secret Hitler maybe on Saturday night if you'd like. And then Sunday noon, this is the big shebang, really. The main event is Sunday football at noon. We can, after that, we can watch football at Taco Mac or Summits or go back to Doug and Greg's house and watch football. But that is the itinerary, so check it out. We'll talk about it the upcoming weeks, but I think that is set for the most part. Worst injury luck. We're going to go with Garrett Wilson, and Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's been out for a long time, longer than we expected, so I felt like that was important to mention. Also, Garrett Wilson out for a couple weeks here. Could have gone with Broker with Jackson Dart's injury, but that's temporary, and it's a quarterback. He still has Jalen Hurts, so whatever. I thought Will deserved that. Worst injury luck. Most unlucky is nobody. Everyone really deserved to lose. Everybody who lost this week had like under 115 pretty much, or I think maybe one person had 117, but I didn't feel good about giving anyone most unlucky, to be honest with you. Most lucky, we're going to go with Will. It was a pivotal matchup, and he won with only 105 points. A.J. Brown only got 3 points. A.J. Brown needed to get 9 points, which seemed pretty likely, but no, A.J. Brown only got 3 points. Will ends up winning in a very, very pivotal matchup with only 105 points. You see me locking down Dylan there. Pretty awesome intro, right, guys? Gave a good surprise. I should mention this, maybe Matt or Bobby or somebody who wasn't here. We had a unfortunate passing within the family, so that caused me to come home this weekend. But the positive is I got to come surprise everybody at bowling, play some basketball. It's cool. Dumbest move, Broker, continuing to play JCM despite him continuing to disappoint. Broker had some buys this week. He didn't have a lot of options, but he's played JCM a lot this year, and JCM has been bad, and he just keeps trotting JCM out there. Let's just give up on him, Broker. I'm not even playing JCM and Dynasty, and I'm desperate in that league. So Smartest move is Matt and Tyler mentally dominating me so that I lose all my fab and they now have the most fab for playoffs. It's a little insider baseball, but Matt and and me were the only three people with fab left, and they kind of just mentally dominated me. They made me think they were going to go for Luke Musgrave. I wanted Luke Musgrave. I talked myself into Luke Musgrave, and I thought they were going to drop a lot of fab for Luke Musgrave. And therefore I put the rest of my fab down on Luke Musgrave, and it doesn't look like it's going to pay off. And now Matt and Tyler are sitting pretty with the most fab headed into playoffs. If any running backs get injured, they can get their handcuffs. If Christian McCaffrey goes down, they can put down money for Brian Robinson. So both of them really mentally dominated me, tricked me into putting down all my fab for Luke Musgrave. So good job there. That was actually huge. Best free agent move I'm going to give to Will for Jawan Johnson. Jawan Johnson's been good. And funny enough, I dropped Jawan Johnson to get Luke Musgrave, and Luke Musgrave was much worse than Jawan Johnson this week. So terrible move by me. But, whatever. Jawan Johnson's been good. The Tez Johnson also for Greg was good, but it's kind of lucky. I don't really, he got a few touchdowns like on maybe one. I don't know. Whatever. Jawan Johnson. Best player, Doug. Just absolutely dominated me. He did have a bad play. Preston pointed this out to me today. He was like, why did he play Shakir over Aaron Jones? It was, Aaron Jones outscored Shakir, and it was kind of lucky that Shakir even got a lot. Really, the game script was good for Shakir. It was a perfect game script for Shakir because Buffalo is down the whole game. Like that normally is not going to be the case. So whatever. It was not a perfect play whatsoever, but he still put up 168, and I'm feeling lazy, so I don't really feel like looking at it more. But not a perfect week for Doug because again, he should have played Aaron Jones, and he should have, and that was kind of an obvious play. Shakir was a risky play, and it didn't really pay off for him, but um, still, best player Doug. Worst player Tyler. 88 points is bad, guys. His trade with Preston looks bad. I mean, we can go back or we'll look at it here coming up. I was one of the few people who didn't like the trade for Tyler. Will loved the trade for Tyler. Tyler obviously loved the trade for him. Greg loved the trade for Tyler. Doug kept talking about how Tyler fleeced me and Preston. Tyler did kind of fleece me in that trade, but that trade does not look good. And Mason is bad. The Zonovan Knight play was bad. The Mark Andrews play was weird and kind of desperate, even though he did get a touchdown. He only caught 2 balls and caught a touchdown, 10 points. He put Mark Andrews in his flex. Tyler, kind of a weird thing for Mark Andrews, if you guys didn't know. I talked a little bit about Mark Andrews to Tyler the other day, and he was like, why are you getting Tucker Kraft or Luke Musgrave when you can get Mark Andrews? I was like, well, because Mark Andrews hasn't been good. Tyler's like, oh, I think he's awesome. I don't know. It was just a desperation play. And it wasn't the worst play in the world because he got 10 points, but just kind of a weird play. But at the end of the day, Tyler, worst player, 88 points. I don't think that's controversial. Season segments. We got a few here. We got dabs here for Preston. I already kind of gave it to Preston a little bit in person and also in over text. But Preston, for these texts, he offered me Pittman and Breece Hall for Justin Jefferson and ETN, which is not a bad trade. In my opinion, it's a slight downgrade from JJ to Justin Jefferson to Pittman, and then it's kind of maybe a slight upgrade from ETN to Breece. So I told Preston, I'm like, hey, like that doesn't do anything for me. That's just a lateral move. And he says I should do it because shifting values, whatever that means. And I explained to him how I downgrade a receiver a little bit, whatever. It's just a lateral move. And I say either way, it doesn't do it for me. And then he just texts me, I'll throw in Burrow, who, as you'll see in the second dabs here, Preston for trying to convince me to trade for Joe Burrow, who he just picked up in free agency 2 hours prior, 12 dabs. We could, me and we just differ on opinion here, I guess. But Preston picked up Joe Burrow 2 hours prior and then tries to use him to trade to me. We went back and forth. He explained to me why he thinks I should trade for Joe Burrow, even though I have Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow. Best case scenario is coming back in 2 weeks. It just made no sense. He was like, well, you could flip him to Matt. And I was like, well, Matt's not going to want him. And also, like, what's Matt going to give me? I have 1 week to, anyway, you guys get the whole point. But so it's 2 separate things here for Preston. The one is just for him sending this text telling me he'll throw in Burrow and also trying to make me do a very lateral move. But then also he gets dabs for later, not in this text. He really pitches Joe Burrow hard to me, and I'm like, Preston, dude, I could have had him 2 hours for free, like 2 hours ago for free. Why would I now, 2 hours removed from when I could have gotten him for free, give you anything for him? So Preston for not changing his name. Doug actually brought this up to me. Good job, Doug. 5 dabs. Preston's name is Dak Disciples, which one was a horrible name in the first place. And two, he doesn't even have Dak on his team. And he barely even played Dak when he had Dak. So whatever. I don't know what's going on there. Preston needs to change his name. And then Preston and Matt for even trying to talk trade with each other, 2 dabs. After this whole conversation went down, I talked to Matt, whatever, and Matt was kind of complaining to me about how bad Preston is at talking trades. Then Preston, of course, always complains to me about how bad Matt is at talking trade. And I just am like, you guys should never be talking trade. Like, that just should not happen. It's like an unstoppable force meeting an unmovable object. It's just like two guys that are just going to be trying to I don't even know, trying to fleece each other in a continuous cycle and never agreeing on any values. And that's just an ugly thing to watch happen. You guys should not be talking trade, clearly. Will for not starting Parker Washington, 2 dabs. I thought that was a very obvious start for Will. I would have started him easily over Garrett Wilson. Cameron for dropping his last bit of fab on Musgrave. That was a really dumb move, and it was made by, I mean, I talked myself into it hard. But also I was mentally dominated by Tyler and Matt, so good on them. But that was a bad move. 5 dabs Cameron for spilling a drink on Hunter and Will. 3 dabs at bowling. I spilled a drink on Hunter mainly, and then on Will's jacket. And I will say, I mean, I could probably get more dabs for this because I was mid conversation with somebody. I was having a great time after surprising them. And I didn't even seem to care that I spilled the drink on them. Like, I just spilled it on them and continued my conversation. And Hunter's like trying to clean it up. He's like, Cameron, what the heck? And Will's like, you got it on my jacket. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, guys. It was dabs. And look, guys, I'm giving myself dabs here. These are the rarely seen Cameron dabs. And it's because I deserve them. When I give them to myself when I deserve them. Okay. Um, Bobby for still not changing his name. 9 dabs. I'm just gonna keep giving them to you, Bobby. I'm gonna keep giving them to you. You don't have Pollard on your team anymore, dude. Pollard Express, terrible name in general. Actually, no, I just got that. It's like Polar Express, but Pollard Express. Good name if you have Tony Pollard, but you don't. So change that, Bobby, or you're gonna keep getting dabs. Bobby for constantly flexing on when he's coming home. 8 dabs. Bobby, for those of you who don't know, is supposed to be temporarily moving back to Cumming, so he says, but he just keeps pushing back the date, keeps pushing back the date, keeps pushing back the date. I talked to Hunter the other day. He was like, yeah, dude, apparently Bobby's coming by Thanksgiving. I'm like, I thought Bobby was supposed to be here like after camp in Utica, like 3 months ago. But he keeps pushing it back, keeps pushing it back. I'm willing to bet he will not be here for Thanksgiving. We'll see if that happens, but if he's not here on Thanksgiving like he said he would, then he's just going to continue to push it back. It'll be even more dabs. So watch out for that. Doug for borrowing Will's guitar to practice, not practicing, and then not giving it back for months, if not years. I don't know how long he hasn't been giving it back, but I'm going to give him 14 dabs for that. Sorry if you can hear Caitlin's video in the back. I think we might owe Greg an apology, boys. I think we might owe Greg an apology because I'm starting to see a pattern here. Somebody borrowing something from that household and then not bringing it back. We all initially blamed Greg for this, for stealing or for borrowing Bob Saraday's power pressure washer and not giving it back. But then Will calls me today. He said, not today. I don't know. Will told me about this scenario. He said, hey, I gave Doug my guitar. He said he wanted to practice guitar, learn guitar, and then he apparently, according to Will, has never practiced. The guitar's just collecting dust in his room, and then he has not given it back for months, if not years. I don't know how long, but it seems like a lengthy amount of time. And yeah, so Doug, you gotta give that guitar back if you're not going to use it, bud. Will's letting me know you gotta give that back. Not cool, Giles brothers. If you borrow something from somebody, you gotta give it back. All right. Someone needs to teach you guys that. I had another point to make on that. I personally think Doug never wanted. I personally think Doug never wanted to learn guitar. I think he was just borrowing the guitar to show off to the ladies. So like, if somebody was like, "Hey, you play guitar," and Doug was like, "Yeah, but like, I don't feel like doing it right now, but I could." and he's just impressing, just to impress people. That's what I think's going on over there. Doug for putting a used Zin on a communal graham cracker tray. Four dabs. You can see the photo there. We're at bowling. Somebody was like, "Why is there a used Zin on my graham cracker tray?" And it was blamed on Doug. I feel pretty confident that Doug put it there. Doug might say he didn't. And, it's possible he didn't. I would say 70% chance that was Doug. Um, so, yeah, that's dabs. I mean, people are eating those graham crackers, and Doug's just putting his used to, like, whatever, like, Zins on stuff. Gross. Doug for the five players to two comment. We all know that. Four dabs. That happened just a bit ago. Doug saw the newest trade between Will and Preston and was like, "Why is Preston giving Cameron Broker five playable players just for two?" That was actually a crazy comment because even if Preston did give Broker five playable, startable players for two, like, I mean, that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Like, what if those two are like star players and the five are just like kind of low end flex players? I mean, it just makes no sense, that comment on any level, because obviously that trade wasn't made with Cameron Broker; it was made with Will. But also, it's like that's not necessarily a bad thing if you give up five for two. Anyway, Dylan for texting me $30 instead of Venmo requesting me for $30. Three dabs. Went out to dinner with Dylan over the weekend, and I was like, "Hey, let me know how much you owe me. I owe you." And he just texted me $30. He, like, we were in person, like, it wasn't like he responded to a text. We were in person sitting at the table. I said, "Dylan, let me know how much I owe you." And instead of just sending me a Venmo request for $30, he just texts me $30. I was like, "That's weird, dude. Like, you're already on your phone. Like, you just Venmo request me at that point." Um, Dylan and anyone else for thinking Judkins was still going to be injured. Five dabs. So I complained about the Will Dylan trade a little bit, and everybody, not everybody, but a few people like Will and Dylan and maybe some others were like, "Dude, it's fine. Like, Judkins is out. Like, Judkins is injured. Like, he's out. He's out." And he was injured. But I was like, "Wait a second, dude. I think Judkins is coming back." And yes, the first week that Will has Judkins, he's not injured. So it's kind of worded poorly there because obviously Judkins was injured. But when you're telling me that, hey, it's a fair trade because Judkins isn't even playing right now, that's dabs because he played the week after he was traded. So five dabs. Uh, and I just think the people who were saying that aren't doing the research. I think that Dylan didn't know that Judkins was so close to coming back. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's dabs. Like, you got to know when people are probably coming back. But Dylan was just like, "Hey, like, what are you talking about? Judkins is injured. Like, he's worthless." It's like, no, he's playing this week. He's no longer really injured. Greg for leaving bowling without saying goodbye to me. Five dabs. And then Tyler for not even being at bowling. Just one dab because I think he had some responsibilities to attend to. But I come to bowling for the first time in years and try to surprise my friends, and Tyler's not even there. That hurts. So we got most dabs, Preston, 28 dabs. I could even give him dabs for this video here where he's for some reason chugging a bottle of lemonade. That's just straight up lemonade. And he doesn't even do a good job at it. He doesn't even chug that much lemonade. It's weird. Um, Dubs, Dylan for the sick ladies man 217 reference, six dubs. I don't remember what he was referring to, but he was like, "Oh, you're painting me out to be like ladies man 217." And that is a sick reference. If you don't know it, it's from Transformers. Just a sick reference, Dylan. Doug for showing people my fantasy videos, spreading the word. Five dubs. I talked to somebody close to Doug recently, and they were like, "Oh, like, yeah, we were just listening to, like, Doug was just showing me your videos." And I was like, "Whoa, Doug!" He didn't even know I was coming, and he's just he's just showing people my videos. He's spreading the word. It's pretty cool. Doug for owning up to his dabs. Five dubs. When Doug made that 5-2 comment about the recent trade, he owned up to it. And you know what? Doug never does that. You know who definitely doesn't do that? Greg. Greg never owns up to his dabs. Greg's always finding the dabs. Will never owns up to his dabs. Never once has Will been like, "Yeah, that was dabs." He always fights it. Doug kind of shockingly stepped up and said, "Yeah, dude, that was dabs. I just said that. My bad, guys." Five dubs. Preston for being brave enough to talk trade with Doug. 3 dubs. Preston was telling me about trade talks he's been having with Doug, or Doug was vice versa. They've been talking trade, and I was like, "You're braver than I, Preston. I don't even try to talk trade with Doug because that's just terrifying to me." Hunter for popping off as a wedding guest this weekend. 4 dubs. I talked to Hunter about the wedding he went to recently, and apparently he was a big help. He got a lot of compliments. Helpful guy when Hunter puts his mind to it. When Hunter wants to impress some people with helpfulness, he can do it. So that's dubs. Will for another huge win, just barely scraping by. 3 dubs. Will's grinding out wins. It's awesome. And then again, Tyler and Matt for mentally dominating me was dubs. Big time 4 dubs. Oh, I forgot to do this, but who cares? I'll do that next week. Sorry about that, guys. That's broker. You get another week on top. Basically, you get another week on top. So good job, broker. Winning trades. I don't really want to talk about this too much, but whatever. Chase Brown, Lad. I think that's fair. Lad's been really good, but so is Drake London. I give this to Bobby because Achan's been that good, boys. Achan has been that good. And Derrick Henry's kind of back, and he's good too. But Nico's good. Pollard has not been good. Devontae Smith's been good. It's closer than 70-30, I'll say. That's a little high for Bobby, but I think Bobby's winning this just because Achan's that guy. And if Bobby wins the league this year, it's because Achan was amazing. I still think you got to do 50-50 for Bucky and BTJ because Rashad White hasn't really been that good in Bucky's absence either. He's been getting like 10 points. And BTJ's had a few decent games. Montgomery had 10 points this week. Montgomery's been okay. I just think it's a fair trade so far. I give the slight edge to Greg here because Waddle's been so sick, and Kamara not so good. He was fine this week, but Waddle's been so sick. Waddle's been better than Genty, I think. I think Preston's running away with this year. James Cook has been very good. Now, this is a little bit misleading because Laporta came from me, but still, Mason's been bad. Lamar Jackson has been injured and just mediocre. And then DK has not been good either. Laporta's been good, but that didn't come from Preston. So I still give that edge to Preston big time on that trade. That was a good trade for Preston. Saquon and Addison for, same thing there. Nothing's changed. It's just a really solid trade for Matt at this point. And then you got to really, after this week, Odunze put up 22, I think. And then Breece Hall put up 22, guys. I mean, Odunze and Breece played very well this week. I think you got to give Preston props for that. I think I'm doing good. I'd still rather have Kyron than Breece, and that's basically what I made the trade for. And then, of course, Hunter's sitting pretty too. London's better than Odunze. So, and Hampton hasn't come back. So I think that's totally fair. I think it's a very good trade for all of us with Hunter slightly getting the edge. This has not been a good trade so far for Greg. Dak Sutton has been really disappointing. I don't believe Ferguson has done anything. But Kamara was fine this week. T. Higgins had 30 last week. Great game. Caleb Williams has been on fire. And Tyler Warren got 18 points this week. I think Preston's kind of running away with that trade because Sutton hasn't been good. And then lastly, one of our newer trades, Trevion Henderson, Rico Dowdle, and Wandale for Judkins and Nico Collins. I am concerned that when what's his face comes back for the he's so forgettable. I can't even remember his name. The running back for New England. What's his name, guys? So say it out loud. Say it to the TV like you're watching Dora. Not Brian Robinson. Ramondre Stevenson. I do think when Ramondre Stevenson comes back, he's going to eat into that work. Rico Dowdle is the real deal, though. I was skeptical, but he's the real deal. And Wandale was good last week, so I really give it to Dill. That was a good trade. Judkins and Nico have been good too, though, so it's close. Bobby's stock rising. 150 points. His team's getting healthy. Kittle's looking good. Puka's healthy. His team's getting a little more healthy. Stock falling, Matt. Really low points for. I know he had Jamar Chase out, but Bijan has been disappointing a little bit. And then all of his guys he's been trying to trade to us all year have been falling off. Debo's falling off. Addison's falling off. Xavier Worthy's falling off. All these guys, really the big three that Matt has been trying to trade us all year, trade high, have been falling off as we all predicted. And that's why we wouldn't make those trades for Xavier Worthy or Debo, is because we all expected them to get worse. And they have. So I would say stock falling, Matt. Next week's marquee matchup is Matt versus Preston, a newly formed rivalry, kind of a very important matchup for each of them. And whoever wins will take the other spot in the line or in the whatever. in the lineup. I got to finish this right now, guys, because I got like 12 minutes until Dance with the Stars. Most annoying Matt for making me insecure about my spelling. He called me out for using the wrong version of two, like two going two somewhere, or I like that too. And he's not wrong. I struggle with two and two, and Matt, I am somewhat of a writer, so it's tough. That's why I use ChatGPT, but that's tough. But that did annoy me when he called me out for that. Who had that dog, Doug? He was pretty nice to me this week, which was really cool. He slapped me around, but it was with a minimal amount of disrespect, a minimal amount of trash talk. Very silent killer, much cooler, Doug. You want to go that route. You want to just be the nice guy that's just beating everybody, and that was Doug. Doug really slapped me around this week, but he looked good doing it. He knew the whole time he was going to beat me. All right, random rankings. We got some big ones here. Caitlin just walked into the room. Now, first up is not. Well, we'll just show you what's first up. To give you some background, me and Caitlin were in we were in our room going to bed the other night or we were asleep and a loud noise wakes us up. Boom. And whatever. Caitlin's nervous. I'm a little nervous. I have to go check out the noise. And all ended up being okay. Spoiler alert. But that caused me to ask some other people. I was like, oh yeah, crazy. And I talked to Preston, and Preston tells me I've never heard a noise and gone and looked at it in my house. He says, I've never once heard a noise in my house and gone and checked it out. Caitlin tells me that's never happened to her. She's never heard a noise at her parents' house growing up and felt the need to go check it out or something. I talked to a number of people. They're like, no, I've never in my life heard a noise and been like, oh, somebody might be breaking in, and had to go check it out. Then I talked to Hunter, and Hunter's tells me, he's like, dude, I do that like every night. That's what Hunter tells me. Hunter's like, I hear a noise, I go check it out. Hunter then rattles off a few stories of growing up when he heard noises and he had to go look and kind of investigate. And it was like, oh, one time it was like a rat in a trap and it was making a noise. And one time it was, oh, this thing fell. Hunter was like, dude, I go check out noises all the time. And I'm like, I wouldn't say I do it that much, but I do it sometimes. And so I did. So I did the ranking of most likely to get up and check out a sound at night. And I would say, I think everyone would agree here. Bobby was number one. I find it very hard to believe Bobby doesn't hear noises and like army crawl around his house and clear each room with like a baseball bat, like when he hears a noise. I feel like that top right photo is Bobby when like one of the dogs knocks over like a box of Cheerios. Bobby is locking that house down and probably staying up for another couple hours just to make sure he doesn't hear another noise. And then Hunter, he told me, like I just said, he really gets into it when he hears noises. He goes, checks it out. Will, I could see Will being a very paranoid looker. He goes down in his PJs, wiffle ball bat in hand, and he's shaking like a leaf. But he goes and checks it out. In the bottom right corner, you see a scene from That 70s Show where they hear a noise in the basement and it ends up being a girl coming to visit Hyde in the basement. But they go and check the noise out, and Eric goes down with his wiffle ball bat, and he's in the nude. You can see it in that photo, and that's what I kind of imagine happens with Will. Me, I wouldn't say I normally get too into it when I hear a noise, but I've been known to take a noise very seriously and check it out. Like if I hear a noise, I lay there for a second, I listen. I'm not too crazy, but Tyler is sort of the keeper and protector of that house. And I think he'll check something out if he feels it's a threat. Broker, I can tell he inspected some suspicious noises back in his day. I would think Emery would be pretty lax about it, but I'm willing to bet he's walked into a basement with a baseball bat a few times, inspecting a noise, but I think he would be pretty lax. Matt, I think he's checked out a few noises, but I also think Matt's probably too cool. Like he's too cool for school to go check out some noises. Like he hears a noise and he just is like, that's probably the wind, and he just goes back to sleep. Lastly, Dylan just seems unlikely. I would assume Dylan's a heavy sleeper, and his kind of sloth-like characteristics that he has might cause him to ignore said noise. Preston, number 10, he told me he's never once inspected a noise, but then that brings us to the Giles brothers at the bottom. And I really think that Tyler could be getting strangled in the next room, and Greg would not wake up or inspect it. Like even if Greg happened to be awake when Tyler was getting strangled, Greg would be like, like whatever. It's probably the house is old, like, creaking noises, whatever. And then really this came up in me and Hunter's conversation. We were like, I don't think Doug's ever checked out a noise. I think a grenade could go off in the next room. And Doug would not think anything of it. He would just sleep right through that puppy. All right. Now we have some of the famous Caitlyn rankings. She's making her first appearance as a ranker. And this one is Cameron's best friend rankings by Caitlyn. What?
Preston, just because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
here?
Well, they so we were talking in the airport. I was like, oh, let's do this one. Like, who does Caitlyn think are my best friends? Now, this isn't who I think my best friends are. I don't necessarily agree with this list, but this is who she thinks are my best friends just based on her observation. She said Preston. And for the reasoning, she was like, well, just because he's here, he's in Washington, D.C.
I didn't say it like that.
You just because he's you just because he's here, whatever.
I did not say it like that.
Which is could be seen as insulting, but 2 Hunter, 3 Dylan, Will. She says you talk with him a lot about fantasy. Little does she know, I mostly talk. I would say Hunter, Greg, Preston. I talk the most fantasy with. Will, I do talk fantasy with Will, but not as much as the other guys. And I'd probably have Will at like 11 if it were up to me, but no, not really at 11. But Doug 5, Greg 6, Tyler 7, Bobby 8. I think this is pretty good. Emery 9, Matt 10. Bobby, Emery, Matt, Broker. That's a good bottom 4. I think this is all right. I would probably, I don't know. I think it's pretty legit, but that's Caitlyn's best friends ranking. And lastly, one of the more popular ones that she's done is who Caitlyn would want to be as a brother-in-law. A lot of you know that I am really looking forward to having a brother-in-law one day, and I was like, who would Caitlyn most want in this league as a brother-in-law? Because it's a very important relationship. You guys don't realize this, but like brother-in-law, very important relationship. So who would Caitlyn want? She puts Will at number 1. He's these.
I guess that was a bad choice.
No, Will's good. No, Will's good. Will would be. If I had any of these people as brother-in-laws, other than maybe Preston, I would be ecstatic. No, I'm just kidding, Preston. But Will would be Will would be high up on my list. She had mentioned, good job Will has. It's important, you want your sisters to be taken care of financially. So Will, we all assume he has a good job. I don't really know that, but I think that's the case. And we talked about it a little bit, and she just basically likes Will, uncontroversial guy. Hunter, nice guy, obviously, but the everybody's a nice guy here, but the benefit that Hunter has is we already know that he vibes well with Caitlyn's family, because like he's hung out with Caitlyn's family, and Caitlyn's family likes him, so that's always a plus. And also, he has a girlfriend. I think I kind of added this, like there's something to already having a girlfriend or a significant other where they're not a bad person to be in a relationship with. You know what I mean? Like, it's taking some risk off. Like, I've never seen Tyler in a relationship, right? So like, could Tyler be like really clingy and annoying as a relationship guy? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, but it's a little bit of a risk. All right, Preston, number 3. Preston's just as nice as the next guy. He's already married. Again, not much risk there with Preston. Dylan, again, confirmed good vibes with the family, but Caitlyn hasn't really seen him in a relationship. So again, like I'm talking about, there is a little bit more risk there. Who knows? Maybe Dylan, not a great relationship guy. I just for the record, I think Dylan would be a phenomenal relationship guy. We're not saying that. It's just, you never know. There's always that chance. Tyler, sweet guy. Caitlyn says really brought the fun at the wedding, which is a very good sign. Tyler, unlike a lot of these guys, really did bring the fun to the wedding, and he was on the dance floor. Bobby was asleep at the wedding, guys, and Tyler was doing the opposite, so it's a really good sign. Doug, very solid choice. Nothing wrong with Doug as a brother-in-law. You can't go wrong with a Doug brother-in-law at all. Greg, I would say the same. I don't know how Caitlyn feels, but I think she just knows Greg a little less. And Emery, number 8. Caitlyn's met Emery a number of times, really likes him. Who wouldn't, But she doesn't know him as well. And I also think there's maybe an outdoorsy factor. Emery, a very outdoorsy guy. Caitlin's sister is not very outdoorsy. So that would be a problem. Matt doesn't know him, but I will say she did. We talked on the phone once, me and Matt. He came over the loudspeaker in the car, and she was like, "Oh, he sounded very nice." And I'm like, "Yeah, Matt, very well spoken guy. He obviously knows the difference between the different types of twos. So that's great. But 10, I mean, you can't blame anyone for putting Bobby at 10 here. I mean, falling asleep at our wedding, it really put a bad taste, I think, in everybody's mouth. No offense, Bobby. You really got you got a high hill to climb to make up for that one. But you invite someone to your wedding, you pay for them to sit at a table and they just sleep through it. It's pretty rough. So I think Bobby's got to pay for that, and then broker at 11. And that is it. That is the who Caitlin would want as her brother-in-law rankings. Very big ranking. You see, I have two famous sets of brother-in-laws here. I got Chandler Bing and Ross Geller from Friends, and I got Vin Diesel and Paul Walker from Fast and the Furious. That's the kind of relationships I want in my brother-in-law. More Vin Diesel, Paul Walker. So yeah, working on that. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We got done just in time for Dance with the Stars in 7 minutes. If any of you guys have girlfriends or significant others that watch Dance with the Stars, maybe you, Bobby, and they happen to vote for Andy Richter every week, you should probably stop being in a relationship with them, because that is a huge red flag, and you can tell them I said that. All right, talk to you guys next week. That's also a funny picture of Doug as Sansa Stark, and I will talk to you later. Bye.